Good morning, friends and family. I hope that you guys are feeling blessed beyond measure. I want to talk to you a little bit today about the heart. And a lot of times when we say, I feel it in my heart, or my heart is broken, or, I made a heart decision versus a head decision. So, where is your heart? Right? We all know that when we say heart in that context, we're not talking about our physical heart, our actual heart. We point to it as though it's down inside of us, but it's really in our heads. And so, what do I mean by that? So, when we have fleshly desires, whenever we want something, right? Whenever you crave something, that actually comes from the heart. Like the heart is deceitful. It can deceive you into believing something that is true, that is not true. And I mean, it's also capable of great good, but it is also the main culprit in great evil. The Bible says, out of the heart flow the words of a man or people, and it also says God looks at a person's heart, not their outer person. And so when it says He's looking at their heart, obviously He's not talking about the actual heart that is pumping the blood throughout your body right now, keeping you alive. That is not the heart He's talking about. He's talking about, He's looking at your innermost being. Where do the things that you say and the things that you do flow from? And they flow from, quote unquote, the heart, or your spirit person. The essence of who you are is probably the best description of what your heart, what it means to say, I did that because my heart said so, or I just felt so compelled to do it because my heart was broken for that person. That is out of your spirit. And sometimes when people say I have a broken heart, what they really mean is I have a broken spirit. And because you can get your heart broken in the midst of things going great, right? You can be living a great life. Not necessarily in the middle of a valley, and in a moment in time, you can get your heart broken. And it doesn't have a lot to do with your circumstances. It could just be a loss of some sort. I don't care how much money you have. If you lose one of your kids, if one of your kids passes away before you do, that can wreck you. Now, on the surface, nothing changed about the circumstances in your life, right? It's highly unlikely that your kid was the one that was your child. My wife hates it whenever I say kid. Whenever your child is paying your bills, when your child is taking care of you, obviously later in life that comes to be true, but they're no longer children. And so what I mean is whenever if your children pass, before the age of 25 or something like that, they're everybody's kids. That if you're less than 25 years old, you're still a kid, and you shouldn't. There's no circumstance under which you should pass before your parents do, and that can wreck a person. And I get it. I don't get it in the sense that I've been through it, but I get it in the sense that it could have a major impact on your life and the way that you go about doing things, and you could have a broken heart even though everything else is going right. But what I want to talk to you about is that the heart is also what the Bible calls the flesh. And what does it mean whenever the Bible says that you are to die to yourself daily? You are to sacrifice your flesh daily. That doesn't mean to kill yourself, obviously. What that means is the fleshly desires, which sometimes are the desires of your heart, have to be put in check and have to be measured by the truth. Not just what is true, but the truth. And what is a good example of this? An abused person who continues to go back to the abuser. Perfect example. They do it because their heart. So obviously their head's not part of the decision-making process, because those of us that are around people like that can look at that situation and be like, what are you doing? Leave him. Do not stay in the same house with him. He is beating on you. Like, once is his fault. Twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times, that's your fault. Now, if you have nowhere to go and you're trapped, then let's figure out a plan, right? Like, I get it. Like, not everybody's in a situation where they can just leave. And especially if they're relying on that person solely for their existence. And I just know that a lot of times our hearts will cause us to make bad decisions, decisions that can derail us. And so what I want to encourage you to do this morning is, and again, this is not about condemnation, but, oh, by the way, condemnation comes from the heart too. Condemnation doesn't come from the head. If I ask you, is it right or wrong to murder? Is it right or wrong to steal? Is it right or wrong to lie? We all know the answers to those questions. We all have a sense of right and wrong, okay? And that sense that you have is a rational sense. It's like the law. It's hard and fast. There is no gray area. Under no circumstances is it okay to murder. Now, Jesus came along and said, to hate somebody is the same thing as to murder them. Well, it is, as far as the consequences in your own life for sin. Jesus was trying to tell us that just because you don't do things, because I hear people, not necessarily people that I witness to, but I have heard people say, I'm generally speaking a good person. I don't murder anybody. I don't, I've never cheated with somebody else's wife. I don't steal stuff. I don't use the Lord's name in vain. Like, I pretty much keep the 10 Commandments. And it's like, no, you don't. Not even close. That's like saying, I've never hated anyone. I've never been so angry inside that you could use the word hate to describe what it is that I was feeling. That's like saying I've never lusted after anyone. And that's just false. I don't believe that. I don't believe that there's anybody on the planet who has never experienced lust or hate. And so Jesus was trying to say, when God looks at you and he looks at your heart, you can get away with a lot of stuff without there being any physical evidence of what it is that you've done, without there being any physical consequence. You can hate somebody and there's no consequence for that in the world, in the flesh. There's a consequence for that in the spirit. And so I want to encourage you today that be on guard. It says above all else, guard your heart. And why? Why? Because there are a lot of things that get planted like seeds in us, and they sprout into something more. And the more you do something and the less consequence there is for it, the more likely it is you're going to want to keep doing it because you're getting away with it. It's like guys who are addicted to porn. Maybe they're getting away with it, right? And no, because nobody knows. And these are people of otherwise great respect. And it's a filthy, insidious way for the demons and for the enemy to wiggle their way into your lives. Because ultimately it does destroy. It's a destructive thing. Porn is a destructive thing for the human mind. Whether you're girl or guy, it just absolutely can destroy your mind. And so I want you to understand that we're capable. All of us are capable of the greatest evil and the greatest good. And the thing that you have to guard against is those things that you feel like you are irresistible to you. Whenever something is like you have such a strong pull towards it that it's almost impossible to resist, red flags should go up. You should be highly skeptical of that if you have that strong of a desire for something, because usually it's not something worth having that strong of a desire for. Now, I'm not talking about goals and stuff. You could have a strong desire to be in shape, and then therefore you work out 4 hours a day in order to get in shape. That's not what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to elaborate. So, again, this morning I wanted to talk to you about the heart. And we talked about it on Friday night in our prayer meeting. I wanted to share some of the things that came out of that meeting. I think we all, generally speaking, think of our heart as being a good thing. And I mean, it was because of Jesus's heart that he went to the cross. It's because of the joy set before him. Where does joy come from? The heart. And the fullness of joy is in the presence of God. And God is all heart. Now, he's also all justice and all love. He's all things. And that's the beautiful thing about God. It's, God, just by his own definition, his own creative rules, it's not that he won't lie. It's not that he doesn't lie. It's that he cannot lie. It's like a square cannot become a circle. It just can't happen. A fish can't become a human being. It just can't happen. And God cannot lie. It just can't happen. And we can be deceived by our hearts. And so just be on guard. Just realize that you're capable, that the enemy is always looking to tempt us every single day of our lives. That's the reason it says daily. You have to make a sacrifice, and daily you have to put on the armor of God. If you weren't in a battle, you wouldn't need armor. If you understand what the Bible is telling us about how to be ready and how to prep ourselves each and every day, then you'll understand better why you have to guard against those things that come up within you. Because it's not always the things that are in the world that come to tempt you. There are many days that go by where I'm in my office all day from beginning to end, and the world doesn't have that big of an impact on my desires. However, I can have desires sitting right here in my office without any of the world's outside input. Now, through the internet and such like that, I might see something or, whatever, and I'm like, oh, dang, I'd love to have that. It might be a car or a house or an island or something crazy, But then, I'm quick to, because I recognize this, I've become acutely aware of the enemy's strategies. I recognize, okay, so if I did have this thing, would it consume me? Would I stop searching for God if I had that? Would I be distracted if I had that? Would I lose focus on my wife? How would that affect my kids? Like, those are the questions that we should be asking. Those are the questions that we should be asking. What is it going to do to my relationship with God? The most important relationship in your life. What's it going to do to my marriage? Second most important relationship in your life. What's it going to do to my kids? Third most important relationships in your life. Relationships are the most important things in your life. So I hope that you are blessed by this. I hope that you have a fantastic day. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's Sunday, and I hope that you have a fantastic week. I'll see you again this week. Have a good day.